So today we're going to talk about the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. This is a refresher for anybody who's already used it, maybe answer some questions and kind of walk you guys through the steps on how to actually do the application and what you need to submit to get reimbursed. So thank you. Welcome, everyone. So first things first, when you get the slide deck, you'll have the link to the Keep the Wheels Rolling Repair Fund. That is available on our website. So I want to point out that our website has been, we've been waiting for it to get updated. So there's going to be some language in the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund page that will sound old. Essentially, just replace anything that says AT exchange with NATADs. Other than that, all the same rules apply. Everything is still the same. I just wanted to point that out. We are very aware that the website is out of date. We have been working with a web person to go ahead and get those updated, but it's going to take some time. So just want to point that out when you go to the link. Go ahead and go through, follow all the steps, and I'll walk you through them now. So as far as Ability Tool services, the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund falls under our device reutilization. So it's actually something that we report to DOR. And it's important for me to point this out because this is one of the reasons why some of the steps we want to just make sure that we clarify. This is something that we do as part of the device reutilization. And so this is just one of the activities. So I want to make sure that you guys know how to do this. And if you have any questions, please let me know. So what is Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund? It's basically a small grant for up to $450 for parts, repairs to donated wheelchairs or scooters. The goal is to support reassignment of refurbished mobility devices to low-income Californians with disabilities. And what is it not? It's not meant as a personal repair of devices for personal repair of devices already owned by individuals. Essentially, this is for nonprofits to apply, for ILCs to apply. So it has to be something that is donated to your center by, let's say, consumer A, and then it's going to get repurposed after it's repaired to consumer B. It's not going to go back to consumer A. That's what the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund is intended for. So who can apply? So like I mentioned, you must be a nonprofit. Your organization must accept donations of used wheelchairs or scooters. You must reassign the refurbished devices to eligible recipients for free, so at no cost. The agency must serve primarily Californians with disabilities. They can't discriminate, and they must be a member of Ability Tools. What are eligible expenses for the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund? Things like replacement batteries, basic non-custom parts, and essential accessories. So maybe you need the foot pedals replaced, maybe you need the armrest replaced, the joystick, things like that. So all those type of repairs would be covered. Labor costs for those specialized repairs, that would be covered as well. And then the total repair cost must not exceed 50% of the device's estimated value, or MSRP. So what does that mean? This means the estimated value of your device must be at least double the repair cost. So if we have a max of $450, that means the device should be at least worth $900. So again, if you are requesting less, then just kind of double that. That's what your MSRP should be in order to get approved. And then your receipts must reflect only eligible costs. So we are not able to cover customizations, things like that. So be sure that if you have questions about what might be eligible, that you reach out in advance. So I mentioned MSRP, or the value. So tips for determining how to find out the MSRP of maybe the device. You want to check the manufacturer's website. You can go directly to places like Invacare, Pride, PerMobile. if that's the maker of the chair that you're getting. You can review the user's manual if your consumer has given you that. That will help you with getting the serial number. Oops, sorry about that. Getting the serial number and getting the model. If you don't have that, you can also check on websites like medical equipment retailers. You want to try to look at reputable sites like Spin Life, Marks Mobility, Amica Medical, 18 or 1-800 Wheelchair. These are all different ones that typically will show the list price of the chair. You can try to navigate eBay and looking online, but keep in mind that it's very difficult to tell in some instances when an individual is selling that device. If that, if the device is not operational, that's not going to be something that we want to use as our MSRP, because our intention is that the chair is operational, that what is it selling for as an operating device. And then you can also call the manufacturer authorized dealer. You may need to provide the serial number or the model number. And then you can also check in with whoever you're reaching out to do the actual repairs. So a lot of times dealers, the repair shops often retain an MSRP list for discontinued items. So this is one way that you can kind of check. Another tip that I found that could be helpful, you can use, let's say, Chat GPT with like it has to be a very specific prompt. So you want to make sure that you're saying, can you find the original MSRP release year of the, let's say, Invacare Pronto M41 power chair? That way, at the very least, you know that the Chat GPT is not hallucinating, is not going to create something. You want to find the source that it's looking up for you to give you the retail price as a starting point. And then that way you can kind of compare. You just want to do a little bit of your due diligence to check and see if you can find what the price of the device is. We are not huge sticklers about this, but we definitely want you to try and look that information up. And so it's really helpful if you can get the serial number or the manual. It makes it a lot easier, or if you can talk to your tech in advance. So how to apply for the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. Like I mentioned before, you can jump onto the website, and that's at abilitytools.org/services/repair-fund.php. There's one app per device. The maximum amount is $450 a month. And then you can utilize multiple applications. So multiple applications might be submitted within the same month as long as the combined total doesn't exceed 450. So if you have one at 250 and the other one at 200, you'll be fine if you want to submit those both for July. So I'm going to use a sample application that we received just recently. So I'm going to call out Joe for the great job on the app. So what you see on the screen is this is what you will get once you submit your application. One of the big tips that I'd like to ask you all is, once you get this email confirmation, it looks exactly like this. Please forward that confirmation email to me. I'm at michelle@cfilc.org. These do get tacked back to my boss, Catherine, but just for a faster response time, it really does help if you can forward those to me as well. And that way I know that there's one pending and I can work on it much faster. On the screen, you're going to see the organization name. So here you have SVLC, the business address, 25 North 14th Street in San Jose. You'll have the contact name. We see Joe's on here. Contact title, AT specialist. We have Joe's email, his phone number on there. Are you a member of Ability Tools? Yes. Does your organization have NATADS credentials? Yes. For all of you on the call today, I know all of you do have NATADS. Like I mentioned before, this is open to other nonprofits if they do accept donations. So the one caveat to this would be, if someone is new and wanting to apply, we would help walk them through how to set up a NATADS account. But for you folks, you guys should all have one. If you're not familiar with your logins, or if you need help with that, we'll be sharing some resources at the end so that you can jump on one of our calls so that you can get that information if needed. But just wanted to point that out. And then the total amount requested. Now, this is where you want to be careful. Again, you have a max of up to $450 that you could request in a month. If you intend on applying for another application in the same month and you don't think you're going to use the entire $450, I would say go ahead and get your breakdown and put in whatever you actually think you're going to need. The one thing you cannot do, though, without having to resubmit a new application is if you request 200 and then you're for the same chair, and if you come back and you resubmit the receipts that say it was 350, I have to cancel that application because you were only approved for the max amount at that time. So it's just extra paperwork. And to be honest, if you don't think you're going to apply again in the same month, just request the max. And then I know we have centers that literally request one for the max every month. So if you go under that, like in this case, if Joe doesn't use the full 450 and he only submits a receipt for 426.14, we're going to cover it. It's going to be fine. Again, another thing I want to point out is the device to be refurbished or repaired. Joe did a great job of giving us the model and the type of chair. If you just put power chair here, it's very difficult for us to determine what the MSRP is, what we're covering. So please be as specific as you can. Again, if you're not 100% sure on the model, give us the make, give us, what information you can. This is why getting the serial number is helpful because then you can call the manufacturer and you can get that information too. And then as far as parts or repair to be funded, here he's mentioned batteries. So again, that's going to be covered. So that's great. A brief description of the repairs needed. Dead batteries in need of replacement. The MSRP of this device is $1,500. So again, we're well within the limit here. And then the date the device was donated to your program. So this one was donated in June of 2025. Is someone waiting for the repaired item? So this could be yes or no. It just depends on your center, but I will walk you through some of the steps that you have to make sure that you do regardless. So in this case, because Joe does have somebody waiting for the chair, he marked yes. He also marked that he certifies the device was repaired with Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund, is not owned by an individual with a disability, and will be reassigned to a new owner for free. So there's a step in there that makes you kind of certify that this is all legit. And then this is the application email that you're going to get back. This is the one that I'm asking if you can please forward me a copy. That would be great. Then we know that we've got it. If you do not get this, the application didn't go through. So be sure to you can submit it again. If you miss a step, if let's say you forgot to put the total amount requested or the MSRP, it's going to get kicked back denied. I have to have a full application to approve you. So once you get that application back, these are the immediate steps we'd like to see after the approval. So I mentioned earlier that Joe marked that he has a client waiting for this chair to be repaired. So in this case, we've put on here that Innate has either the two steps that you really want to get in immediately. So first thing is you want to load that client in. You want to load the client information waiting to receive the device. And I purposely marked here, NATAS provides a client ID or an inventory ID for every single transaction. I want you guys to kind of pay attention to the middle two letters because that will tell you what that is assigned with. So with a client, it's going to be 06 capital C, capital L, and then a series of 5 numbers. That's for client. Then when you load the device into the reuse inventory, which we're going to do in a sec, that's going to give you a very similar looking number, but it's not exact. It's going to be 06 capital C, capital I. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is that important? Because those numbers are going to be what help us determine kind of the paper trail, if you will, of what's happening with your reuse activities. So the first step, the reason we want the client in there is because we want to associate the activity to a client. So that's very important. If you do not have a client that you are already have in mind, that's still okay. You want to jump to step 2 and load your reuse device. And that's again very important, because once you do find a client, you're going to go ahead and load the client in there to donate it to. So these first 2 things, I would really highly recommend that once you get the approval email, that you just load it in immediately. Make a note of these 206 CL numbers or CI numbers and keep that for your reference. You're going to come back to NATADS once your repairs are done, and you're going to need that information. And then we mentioned at the bottom of the slide, we mentioned before for first-time applicants, if you are a community partner that is a nonprofit and is needing help to create the NATADS account, you can definitely email us and we'll walk you through that, and we'll do that together on a one-on-one call. Next slide. So in order to add a client into NATADS, some of you might be very familiar with this, but once you log into your NATADS account, you're going to see a menu that has day-to-day activities. You can click that button. The first menu you'll see is administrative functions, client inventory functions, state level functions, and then state leadership functions. So in order to load a client, you will select client under the client inventory function menu, and then basically go through the motions. The region will automatically be populated with your region. So if this were Joe doing his, should say SVILC, and same for whoever is logged in. My example is going to say Maine because I'm out of the main office. And then this is a test sample, so it's not going to be obviously everything that we need. But the other thing I want to bring your attention to is the red circle where it has the client ID. Notice it's 06CL11586. So that CL is the client ID. So if we go back and we review, we should have a unique number for every client. And so it's important to view and look and make sure that you don't have them loaded in more than once. But this way you can also associate activities to this individual. Many times you're going to go back to the same person and you're going to do lots of different services for them. And if you start at the client menu, it's so much easier. So just a tip, keep that information. And then essentially I've just got a screenshot of their first name, their last name, if there's a company associated to them. The client category is essentially going to be individual with disability. Is going to give you a drop-down menu if it's a family member, authorized member, anything like that. So in this case, this is our person that's going to get the chair. Client type, we've marked them as active. If you share the client statewide, it's hard to see here, but if you mark that box, that just means that anybody that has an authorized account with NATADS is able to see that client information. And then if you have a problem child, or if you have a client that you've had repeated issues with, maybe doesn't return items or what have you, that's what the do not loan box is for, is to notify others that maybe this is a potential client that abuses the system. So that's what those fields are for. Typically those are left blank, but I just wanted to point out what they are. And then the address of the client, and you would save it. And then once you're done with this step with the client, you want to make sure that you add your reuse inventory. So this is step 2. So here again, we go back to the NATADS day-to-day application, and then under state level functions, you're going to see the reutilization button all the way to the right. And then once we select that, you'll see a screen that says reutilization functions. Reutilization home. Then you'll see reutilization functions. You'll see view reuse activities, add reuse, view report. We want to go ahead and select add reutilization activity. So if we were to use Joe's example, this is what he would be entering. So essentially the region for the item, he's going to put SVILC, or it's automatically going to populate, to be honest. The listing type, this is important. For KWRF, it's always going to be refurbish repair. The reason being is the reason you're requesting that $450 is to reassign it to someone. This is not meant for an open-ended loan. This is not meant for a demo. This is meant so that you could reassign it. So in this case, your listing type is always going to be refurbish repair. And then here you can list your item name. We put Jazzy Elite Power Chair. If you have an item number, which means if you have kind of an inventory number that your particular ILC uses, maybe you have chair number 1, 2, 3, you would load that into the item number. We didn't have anything, so we left that blank. And then inventory category, because it's a chair, you're going to use mobility, seating, and positioning. They're going to have a whole list of different categories that this could fall in. Because it's a chair, I would use this one. Subcategory is left blank. There's nothing really available in there. Our example doesn't show the location, but whatever you guys utilize for your locations to keep track of your inventory is what I would suggest you use. So in this case, maybe you just put San Jose, maybe you just put SVILC, maybe you guys identify it based on the room or the storage unit that you keep the devices. It's really up to you guys how you utilize that location. In our area, we market Sacramento. Sometimes we market Maine. So it's just what you guys use internally, but it's meant so that you guys can find it and filter out where the device is. And then manufacturer for this one is going to be Pride Mobility, model, Jazzy Elite, and then obviously we made up a serial number. I don't have the actual chair. So here we just put, it could be anywhere between, I think, 6 to 10 digits typically. Retail cost here, we put the 1,500. Status, we want to mark that available. Again, that's another one that's important, because when you are assigning your reuse activity and you're going to select this item, if it's not marked available, it's not going to show up on your drop-down list. So that's really important to mark available. Same thing with active. You want to make sure that it's showing up as active for you to be able to find it in your drop-down list, and that'll make more sense when we get to the next couple of slides. I would not mark highlight on the web. And then description for us, what I put on here is just some useful information about the chair. So I put the Jazzy Elite Power Wheelchair is an easy to use electric wheelchair with large front wheels for better control and stability. This is a little extra. You don't have to go this crazy, but you might want to mention something like high back, adjustable armrest, simple joystick, and it comes in blue. And so you can kind of put whatever description fits for you guys, but I would highly recommend filling that part out so that you can tell the difference what you have. Once you've been doing this for a while, they all kind of muddle together and it's hard to tell which one you assign to what. So just give yourself a good description. If something is missing, maybe the basket of the chairs is missing, or the I don't know, the manual is gone, you might want to mark it on there as well. Give me one sec. Okay, so this is further down on that same slide. When you're adding in the information, it's going to give you a spot to add an image. And so I've just pulled one off of the internet, but you would actually take a photo of the used chair and upload it. And again, this is something that you have to do for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. For other activities in NATADS, it's optional. But for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund, we do have to have a photo of the device. So this is one spot that you would load it in. This is typically before it's repaired. If you are going to be doing something like a battery, it's very hard to tell before and after a repair. So truly, if you're updating it before and you have this photo, it's good enough. And then also, you're going to notice on the side it says added by. NATADS generates that information. So here it's generated my phone number and my email address because I'm the one that was loading it. And then underneath that, you have a section that says administrative notes. So here, remember, this is the before. So this is going to be you just loading in your device. I just marked anything that you'd want admin to know, any special information, maybe the joystick is broken, maybe whatever might be missing. Like we said, the manual might be missing. You might want to write it down in here in the section. So for my admin notes, I just put in 2 new replacement batteries will be required before reuse. And then you want to make sure you hit save. Once completed, that's when this will generate, NATADS will generate your reuse inventory ID. And this one again, this is the one that's going to show 06CI, and the I is important for inventory. So CL was for client, and then I don't know why they have C, but this one's CI for inventory, and there's going to be one more ID that you're going to need for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. So I'm trying to point this out so that you guys know what each step does. So this is right after you've been approved, but prior to the actual repairs. These are the steps that you want to get done. Any questions so far? I'm not seeing the chat, so if you guys can let me know. Ine, is there anything that anybody's thrown in there?
Not anything so far.
Okay.
Not yet, I'm waiting.
Okay. Like I said, let me know, guys. This is for you. So I have a little video of how to locate the serial number. It's only 5 minutes, so I think I'm going to go ahead and play it for you guys. But we'll also, these slides will be available with all the links and things, so you guys can use this for reference. But I'm going to play this. Give me 1 sec. Typical places, like if you're trying to locate the serial number, typical places that you should be able to find it. And let me know if you're hearing this.
Hi everyone, I'm Sergio with Mobility.
Are you able to hear him?
Yep. It sounds
okay. Perfect. I'm going to keep playing then.
Mobility Scooters Direct, and here today I'm going to show you how to locate the serial number on your power or electric wheelchair. We've got a few different wheelchairs here, and we're going to move on into the showroom. I'm going to show you how to find the serial number in case you need to order some replacement parts. Now this is a Jazzy Air 2 by Pride Mobility. If you have the user manual that came with your Jazzy, the easiest place to find the user manual, or I'm sorry, the serial number is on that user manual. Right there on the user manual, you can find the serial number, and with every Pride product, and a lot of the manufacturers work the same way, that's going to be the easiest way to find your serial number. Now, if you happen to have this model and you want to find the serial number because you don't have the user manual, you're going to have to elevate the chair and then look inside the underneath of the chair, and it's actually going to be on a sticker right next to the accessory port. So have someone take a picture for you and then send it to us, and then we can go ahead and quote you for your replacement part. That's where the serial number is located on the Jazzy Air power chair. Now I'm going to bring this chair back, move it back against the wall, and pull out another power wheelchair, which is also a Jazzy, but it's a folding power wheelchair. All right, here we have a different Pride power wheelchair. It's the Jazzy Passport. It's a folding, lightweight travel power wheelchair. Kind of like a manual wheelchair, it just folds down and you can actually wheel it around pretty easily. Now you might be wondering where the serial number is on this one. Just like all the other ones, it is on the user manual, but if you don't have the user manual, you actually have to, it's not easy to find it. You come around and you look on the side bar here of the frame, right where my finger's pointing, there's a sticker. It has the serial number. Now, let's make our way into the showroom where we're going to find a few other types of power wheelchairs. We have an older style Jazzy power wheelchair which is actually being repaired, and I want to show you where the serial number is on this one for those customers that may have one similar to this one here, an older style power wheelchair, the Jazzy. The sticker for this one is going to be most likely located inside the shroud assembly on the actual post for the seat. But in order to get in there, you have to take off this nut and bolt and lift the chair up, and then there's a sticker right on this post underneath this one that says read the user manual. You can't see all of it, and to keep this video short, we're not going to go through the process of disassembling it right now. Take a look at our other product videos that shows you how to disassemble the unit, and you'll see just exactly how easy it is to take it apart. Now here we have a power chair by CTM Mobility, and it's a compact power wheelchair, very similar to the Pride Go chair. Underneath the unit we have a switch for the power cable that gives power to the joystick controller. I'm going to take that off, release the seat by picking it up. Once you've got the chair off, you take the battery pack off. Now, you may just want to take a picture, but the serial number is there. You can either write it down or take a picture and provide us the serial number picture, and we can go ahead and look up your product and any compatible parts that may go with that product. I'm going to wheel this back. Here's one more chair. This is the Pride Go chair, and it works just like the CTM. The serial number is going to be on the seat post underneath. I'm just going to open up the under storage container, put the seat off to the side, up. Just make sure you disconnect the joystick controller from the base of the unit. Pick up the battery, and what do we have? Serial number. So as you can see, most power wheelchairs are going to have a sticker on the seat post with the serial number. All right, so I showed you how to find the serial number on a few different types of power chairs. It's pretty straightforward. Most of the time it's going to be on the seat post or on the user manual. Hopefully
hopefully that was helpful. I know that for some of us it's going to be difficult to get to the serial numbers, but I wanted to point out if you're able to do that and find that, it's really helpful to find not only locate the chair, the model, that kind of thing, especially if you don't know how old the chair is, things like that. The other thing that you could do is your tech is going to take the chair apart in most cases to repair whatever it is. You can definitely ask them to please get you the serial number as well. I don't know how many of you have the techs come to your location or if you send them off, but most of you guys that apply usually use the same technician. So it could be helpful to reach out to them. They're a really great resource as well. I just wanted to show that too. Let me see if I can get to our next screen. So, a a lot of times people ask what the timeline is for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. Now, keep in mind, this is not perfect, but I wanted to give you an idea. So you proceed with the authorized repairs and purchases after you've received your approval. So what you want to do is wait until you get an approval email. In that email, you're going to get an invoice, a copy of a blank invoice for you to use for essentially sending that back to us. You're also going to get a copy of CFILC's photo release, and that is in case your photo has your consumer in the picture, then they need to sign off on the release that they're okay that we have that information. And so it's important that you use the CFILC photo release for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. But please do not go through with your repairs before you've received the approval. If you do so, you will not be reimbursed. So it's really important that you get that approval email. But once you do, that's on our record. You have 30 days to submit your receipts, your invoices, and your photos, the waiver if needed. The reimbursement provided up to approved amount only. So again, if you requested $250, that's what we're going to give you back, $250. So even if let's just say $450. Let's say you've requested the full max, but it turns out that it's $465 for the repairs. You can send the receipt for $465, but the invoice can only say $450. That is what we will reimburse. We can only reimburse you up to the max, which means that the center has to pick up the rest of that cost. The other thing is you're not allowed to bill that to the consumer. So if you have the ability to kind of check in with your techs and get an idea of what these repairs might cost in advance, that's really helpful, especially if it's batteries. They usually are able to give you a quote or an idea. And this is again why it's really important to try to get the serial number in that case, because then they can give you a much more truer quote. So reimbursement usually is also processed within 6 weeks of the invoice verification. So right now, that's what we're shooting for. You can always reach out to accounts payable if you are looking for anything or trying to get any information, and you can always reach out to me directly. Again, Michelle at cfilc.org, and I can get that over to the right team. But this is our typical timeline. So now that we've gone and you've done the approval, let's say we've already gotten the chair repaired. Now what we have to do is actually post what we call the reuse activity. So this is where you're tracking the actual handoff from the repair to your new person, right? And so remember, we loaded the client. So we should have their information and their client ID already. We can pull that up. In this example, I think I have the first name says Old Thunder. That's one of our test samples. But you'll notice the client ID 06CL12060. So you can go into the client field, and when you scroll down, you're going to notice this, what's on the right side here. You're going to see their contact information, any notes that you added about the consumer information, and then you're going to see all the activities that are associated with this individual. This is the easiest way. And that is incorrect, guys. I'm sorry, the circle is on state financing. It's supposed to be on device reutilization. I will correct that. But my point is that you can go in and just add device reuse from here. So I think it meant to click this little area right here, but it looks like state financing. So what you'll want to do is once you hit add reutilization, it should take you to this next screen. And I apologize, it looks funny. Before you guys get this copy, I'll make sure that it's highlighted correctly. Okay, so reuse activity. This is This is the first part of it. The blue is going to indicate what we've put in this example. So the reutilization date shows 7/17/2025. It's entered by myself. Again, this is auto-generated, and it's just to give you a quick screenshot of what it would look like. So we chatted a little bit about what the reutilization type would be. It's always going to be device, refurbish, repair, and reassign for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. You may want to use device exchange for other things, and you may want to use open-ended loan for other activities, reuse activities. A device exchange, for those that aren't familiar, if you guys coordinate, let's say somebody is wanting to sell a van with a ramp. You're obviously not going to take that into your inventory, but you might know somebody who is looking to buy one. So you make that connection. You can actually load that as a device exchange as a reuse activity because your service that you provided was connecting those two individuals. That's what the exchange would be. And then open-ended loan, you guys should be very familiar with that. That would be like our battery exchange, or excuse me, our DDAR battery program. If you're giving a long-term loan, something that you are giving away and you don't have the intention of it coming back, that would be the only purpose that you would use the open-ended loan. But for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund, again, what we're more interested in is that this device was repaired and then reassigned. So please use that marker. And then here you'll notice underneath, we have two buttons. One will say enter device info, and the other one says select reuse inventory. So since we've already added our reuse device, we can select the reuse inventory. Again, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for you guys. There's multiple ways you can do this in NATAS, but this is the easiest. So once you do that, you're going to notice a pop-up menu should appear with all available reuse inventory, including the device you just entered for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. So in our example, the number that it assigned it was 06CI10736. And you're going to notice I've circled that on the right. We're able to add it. It was in our drop-down menu, and I was able to select it. And then when you proceed, it's going to give you the little success. This device has been added. If you don't see the success, or if you have an issue, you can try one more option. I'm hesitant to show you, but if you go back to this step and try entering device info, it's going to ask you to enter the device directly. You shouldn't have to if you already received the CI number, but if you have trouble, you can try that and see if that works. And essentially, it's just going to be entering it manually. I really think doing it with the reuse first is much easier. It's NATAD likes it better and you get less errors, but like I said, that's a way that you could troubleshoot. Okay, so then the next part of what you'll see is if you scroll to the bottom of that page, so still before we've hit save, it's going to give you the section for performance measure, decision, and satisfaction information. The first little box that you'll see that you could check or uncheck says activity excluded from performance measure. You don't want to check that because we are actually tracking that. And then primary area of AT use. In this case, I've marked it as community living. I believe you can also mark education or employment. So just mark what is the best fit for your consumer for this scenario, for the one that's getting the donation. And then reason for using AT program, again, you're going to select the best fit. In this particular case, I marked AT only available through statewide AT program. Then there's going to be a little satisfaction marker. What they're asking in this is not, are they satisfied with the chair? They're asking, are they satisfied with the service that was provided by your ILC? And so, just to be clear, again, that's not necessarily if the chair is working well for them. It's overall, their overall experience. And so you can mark it accordingly. And then anecdote. We're going to go into this a little more in detail on the next slide, but this is important and this is a big one for us. We want to make sure that you're providing ample details. The reason is we use these as success stories as well. If you guys are familiar with loading success stories into NATADs, especially the DLDCs, we have to go through that process every quarter and load those in. So this is kind of another spot to do that, but it's under the reuse. So we want to get some really useful information in here. And then, and I'm going to walk you through it in just a sec, but the last thing that you'll do in this section is you're going to go ahead and add an image of your repaired device. And like I mentioned earlier, if it happens to just be a battery repair, it's probably going to look the same. So you can use the same image if need be. But if it's very obvious that something else was repaired, I would load the image of the repaired device. If this one also, is one with your consumer, you're going to go ahead and have a spot to upload the waiver as well. So the last thing that will happen is you'll mark save on here. This is going to generate what we call the NATADS reuse ID. Notice that the center two letters are RU. That's for the reuse activity. That's the important one. That's the one that shows that you guys actually tied the chair and the client to the full activity. And that's the one that I need for invoices. So please make note of that. All these little numbers mean something in NATADS. And the best way to kind of tell what you're looking at is looking at those two letters in the middle. Now let me go over kind of the sample of what we're looking for the anecdote, or we call it the narrative. So lots of colors here, but on the left, you're going to see who, what, why, how, and then. And so this is just an easy way to kind of remember, what are we looking for? We're looking to find out, who are you covering? Who is this? Who are you helping? So in this case, I've written in Captain Jack Sparrow is our client, has a spinal cord injury. This is the who. This is we've identified what the person that we're assisting, who's getting this chair, has been unable to acquire a wheelchair through insurance. So it's a little out of order, but this is going to be our why. So why are we helping this individual? What is the challenge? And then through the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund grant, our ILC was able to repair a donated Jazzy Elite Power wheelchair. And so this is going to cover the what and the how. And again, I've color coded these to try to make some sense of it, but we don't care what order you put this in. If you can just kind of think the who, what, why, how, and then, that's the most helpful. And then the last thing is, how did it help this person? That's what the and then is. The consumer now has improved mobility, enabling them to attend medical appointments and live more independently. The Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund grant helped eliminate a major barrier to access. If any of you have ever applied for grants, have ever applied for diversion, have ever applied for transition grants, these little snippets, these narratives that we call them, these are huge for grant applications and also for funding. So this is why it's so important that we load that little step in the narrative, in the anecdote, for the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. That's what I would say is the number one thing that I don't see happen. We want to identify quickly that it's through the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund. We want to identify the item that you've donated to them, why is it needed, so a justification, and then kind of how it helped. You can simplify and, like I said, make it work for you, but I wanted to just point out what we're looking for in this case. And then we just kind of talked about this, but why is this so important? It demonstrates the real world impact of our work. It helps communicate our successes to DOR, the public, and any potential funders. It strengthens the story behind each reuse and repair. And let's be real right now, the potential to increase or at least help us maintain the current AT program funds. with the way things are going right now, these are all very helpful for those things because those all show up on reports. So that's why we want to just make sure that those steps are taken because it's like the little snippet that we get to report quarterly to both DOR and the federal government. So just wanted to point that out. Almost last thing that we're going to talk about is what you want to submit. So this is how you would get your reimbursement. So I tried to give you a very real picture of what I need back. And at the bottom here, you're going to see our email at atinvoices@cfilc.org. And you're going to see myself, Michelle at cfilc.org. This is basically all of the things once you've had the repair done, what you're going to send back to us. So your invoice, which is this guy right here, you're going to get a blank copy of this on your approval notice. And on that blank copy, you're going to notice that we assign an invoice number. So in this case, I'm just using a fake one, but this is ILC01. And as you continue to apply for Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund, it's going to be 02, 03, 04. And you can imagine the first few letters are your center. So that's important. That's your invoice number. So you'll want to move that over to here on the invoice itself. You'll want to mark the date of the repair. The NATAD's reuse ID. So this is why I've been so kind of focusing on these 06 numbers. The one I'm asking for is the RU number. So 06 RU 12345. That's the one that lets me know you actually completed a full activity to actually reassign it to someone. In the event that you don't have anyone to assign it to yet, and you're just doing the repair, that's still okay. Then what I'm looking for is the 06 CI number. And that's the one that says it's loaded in NATAD, it's ready to go. When we find a consumer that's ready to take it, or maybe Mr. Sparrow no longer wants it, he got one from insurance finally, we have to repurpose it to someone else on our wait list. At least what you're telling me is I loaded it into NATADs. Once that consumer comes through, we're going to go ahead and load the reuse activity then. So that's okay. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware. If you have the reuse activity and you have the person, please list their name and list the activity. Over here, you're going to enter information about the repair shop or the place that you sent it to. And then over here is going to be our CFILC information. So this really shouldn't change. This is your section in the green up at the top here, the one with the date, the invoice, the NATAD's reutilization ID, and then the consumer name. And then down at the bottom, you're also going to be kind of itemizing the device, what the repair was. So this is just a very simple copy, replacement batteries for the Jazzy Elite. We went ahead and put it down for the 42613. And so in this case, I'm going to need the receipt. So here's the copy of the receipt. So 2 replacement batteries. And then we're going to need the photo of the device. So the wonderful part about if you load this into the reuse, into NATADs, the photo's already there. So as long as you give me this information, I can find it. If you add it to the email, wonderful. I'm going to go back into your NATADs and I'm going to load it. But I need all of this information to get your reimbursement or to approve your reimbursement. Again, if you have, which we'd love to have, if you have a story with an individual that is willing to show them using the device, then please just also include the photo with the CFILC waiver. So that would be the only additional thing. But that's optional. The photo by itself of the device is still required. We still have to get that device. So I marked all this in for you. A tip that I would give is take a picture of this as your cheat sheet. If you want, I would print this up when you get the slides because it pretty much gives you the breakdown of what needs to be done and a visual of exactly what it should look like when it comes to us. And then again, if this is all sent over to us, typically, and we send this over to accounts payable, you should be able to tell your account managers roughly 6 weeks. If there's something going on with DOR or reimbursements or anything like that, you could reach out to accounts payable, but a lot of times something is missing and that's why you're not seeing it approved yet. So please, please make sure that you're sending it to AT invoices and copying me, and I'll make sure that accounts payable has everything. Last thing I want to call out is our best practices and common errors. So start your NATADS process right after approval. If you can even start it when you get your chair, and you know you're going to apply for the Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund app, I would go ahead and at the very least load your chair and load your client if you have somebody waiting. But make sure you keep track of those numbers because you're going to need that information. And then again, add the recipient's name as soon as known. Save all your receipts and upload clear documentation. It's helpful to get multiple bids, but a lot of the time, you'll be working with technicians that you kind of go back and forth with often. And so most of the time we'll see once you've done some work with them, a lot of times we'll see the invoices literally for the same amount because you're just constantly giving them work. So this would be more for, I think, if you're just trying to figure out what the cost should be and if it's justified, you might want to try to reach out to more than one shop. And then common errors that we see: avoid submitting invoices late. You want to try to do that within your 30-day window. I do have some wiggle room there. So if you keep me notified and let me know, hey, our repair shop is still not completely done with our chair. I know that our deadline is coming up. Can you push that back a bit? I can definitely work with you guys, but please, please don't wait too long because we end up having to cancel out those invoices and then you have to reapply. Don't exceed the original funding request. So again, we talked about this. If it's $450 is the max, just know that anything that does exceed that amount, the agency is responsible for covering the difference. So the invoice should only reflect $450, even if the receipt says $500. That extra $50 is going to be eaten by the agency. And then another common error is sometimes people forget to update NATADS with that reuse activity, so that RU number. And then please, please complete that narrative. That's really helpful for all of us. And so it helps me not having to dig and kind of assume what's going on with your consumer. If you have concerns about listing the client's name in the narrative, I am okay with a first name. I am okay with consumer with whatever the diagnosis is. Basically what I'm looking for there is just help me show DOR that there's a need that was addressed and how it helped them. So however you can identify your consumer, I'll be happy with. If you can give us the full name, wonderful. We rarely will show anything as far as examples with anyone's names as it is when we're reporting. But for NATADS purposes, it really does help so that we can keep track of which invoice is covering for what. So with that said, if anybody has any questions, I'm going to give you some extra resources here. So for help applying or using NATADS in general, you can always email any one of us at abilitytools@cfilc.org. It'll hit myself, Amora, and Ine, so one of us will be happy to help you. Technical assistance is always available on request where we can do a one-on-one with you, but we also have NATADS hours that are open every month, twice a month, and you guys probably heard this repeatedly, but I marked it on here so you guys have it. So if you're having any trouble and you don't feel like chatting with me tonight or today with any issues that you're having with Keep the Wheels Rolling Fund, you can also drop in on one of those sessions and we can take a look then.